Okay, Programming 11, as promised, I wanted to help you dry out your code, as they say. We notice that we have these if statements for making our buttons tactile. They do lovely things to make our buttons feel like they are clickable, or at least to indicate to the user that you can interact with them with the mouse. But this piece of code here is kind of the same as this one. It only changes in terms of its y coordinate, really, and it's that's it. That's all. Theoretically, though, I might want to put a button that's maybe to the right. So maybe this x coordinate could change. I could also see how this radius might change. Maybe there's some bigger buttons. So what I'm going to do is I'd like to take this piece of code and make it more generic, more abstract, as another way to put it. So a piece of code that could respond to any kind of button and just change the stroke. So that's a good sign that we need to make a function. So I'm going to go down to after the end of draw, but before mouse released, and I'm going to make a function called void tactile. I think I'll just make this a little bit. No, I'll leave it. I think it's good to see sort of where this is happening. Void tactile. Tactile is the word that says it's touchable, it's feelable. If something's tactile, then when you touch it, it has like a sensation. So I'm going to put in tactile, and what I'd like to do is give it 3 parameters to catch 3 different arguments. I'll give it an x, a y, and a radius. So when I call this function, I can send it that information. And then I'm going to take, it could be any of these, this if statement here, and I basically want to do that code. I want to put that code in the function. So what's going to change is, well, the x might change, the y might change, and the radius might change. But now this piece of code here is more abstract in the way that it now works for any x, y, and r, right? I just have to plug those numbers in. So this tactile function will make the stroke white or darkest brown depending on these numbers that we send it. So now that we've set up this tactile function, I'll put a end tactile right here just so that I make it fairly obvious. Now I can go use it. So I can replace this if statement with tactile. I just got to remember what I'm going to do. So I'm going to say tactile 100, 500, 50, right? Because that is the circle information. And I can replace this if statement here with the same function call. I can say tactile. This one is 100, 350. Ugh. And same thing with this if statement. I can replace that now with tactile 100, I guess it's 150. And look how much shorter now my draw function. Like I can fit it. I can now again fit it onto my screen, and I can see that basically a button is these 3 lines of code, and then these 3 lines, and then these 3 lines. Because I've taken that code, that if statement, and I've packaged it up into a function. And now I don't have to write it over and over again. The next button I make, I can just say tactile and go from there. This saves us so much time, and also it makes it so that we're less likely to make errors. If I was to have to type that if statement out again and again and again, or copy and paste, then there's a good chance that I could make a mistake. So this means that this formula for is my mouse touching the button is sort of enshrined in this special place where I won't have to touch it again and I won't have to make a mistake. I know it works. So I can just use the word tactile now and send it arguments like I'm doing here to kind of customize it and to return the right sort of information. So check it out. Whoops, I forgot a brace. Oh, sorry, a parenthesis. Let's try again. Oh, and yeah, it works. And it's just so much neater, cleaner. It's so good. And the buttons all do what they're supposed to do. So this tactile function is a big improvement on our design to keep our code clean and to keep everything from getting too messy. All right, programming 11, we're getting to do some pretty great things. So pat yourself on the back for following these videos. Make sure, I hope you did a little practice where you created those two buttons. Go ahead and make those two buttons that you created also tactile, and do it with a tactile function as opposed to, just slamming those if statements into your draw function. Try to make your draw function as beautiful as possible, as clean as possible, as readable as possible, and I think you'll be doing great. Okay, thanks everybody.